All right, so here we are today at the Crest House of Pain because there's literally nowhere else to go outside of this since the quarantine happened, all this craziness, obviously with the virus. So figured we'd get some content shot. I haven't done a training video in a while, and with me being deep in prep at this point, kind of show you some things that we are doing with training, kind of why we're doing it as well. Just to give you guys something to watch too, right? Because it's like, what do we do sitting in our damn house all day? But, all right, so today, I would have been 3 weeks out at this point. That's not happening now because of all the cancellations and postponements with the shows. And honestly, who knows when they'll start back. I honestly myself believe that there won't be any shows at the earliest until June. That's just my thought process. And then I won't, I'm coming up on 6 months of prep. So to me, it's not conducive for myself to just continue this and just hoping that a show will be put, will start or they'll have one or whatever, because it's just not going to benefit my physique in any way, or health either, obviously pushing things this long. So right now, what tentatively I'm going to do is push through or most of April, and then run a peaking protocol, and like I'm getting ready to step on stage, and then just jump into off season, because I absolutely want to compete next spring. I like competing in the spring. I do not like competing late summer or fall. So I want to at least give myself 6 months of an off season before I'd have to jump back into prep for 2021. So tentatively that's the plan. So I'm on task. I'm keeping things on point, staying in prep. Yeah, I'm feeling it at this point. Obviously, freaking depleted, low energy, the typical things that come with prep at this point in time. So what I'll touch on today, like with the trainings, like I'm kind of starting a new training phase this week. I've bumped my refeed days up, and I'll actually do a full day of eating for my training and my refeed days for you guys, because I've been getting a lot of requests for that. So I'll just do that, a video in and of itself. But for the training part, I do get a decent amount of questions on this. Number one, because people I think are doing way too much volume and types of training that they honestly can't recover from. And the mindset is with training, guys, especially when you're in a deep deficit, you've been dieting in a deficit for a prolonged period of time, 3+ months, is obviously nutrients are down, calories are down. So guess what? Your ability to recover is down. So you have to strategically and methodically make sure the training stimulus is matching the nutrients that are coming in for your ability to recover from this stuff. And obviously this deep in prep, it's not about hypertrophy. You're not going to be able to stimulate those pathways because you don't have the surplus to do so and recover from it. So you need to take that into account when you're thinking about your training programming. So the thought process is muscle retention. And to do something you can recover from, which obviously has to be lower in volume in a sense. So what we're doing with this current phase is my volume is low now. Frequency is fairly up. I'm training everything every 4 days, 4 to 5 days. So like today is going to be chest and back. And then I will train chest and back. So what's today? Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. I'll train chest and back again in about 4 days. So the volume approach is moderate. So what we'll be doing today is, this is based around cluster sets is what this training phase is. So with a cluster set, what is that? A lot of people think of it as a rest pause, but it's not the same. Like Dante is obviously very well known for doing rest pause sets, to where say you do a weight and you do 8 reps with, you hit failure at 8 reps, and then you rest 15, 20 seconds, go to failure again, rest 15 seconds, go to failure again. Obviously your reps will tend to drop at that point. So you would do 8, then you'd fail at 4 or 5, then you'd fail at 3 or 4 reps. Okay. What a cluster set is it's a mini sets. So like with mine, we're doing a 6-6-6. So I'll do 6 reps. I will rest 15 to 20 seconds, 6 reps, rest 15 to 20, 6 reps. But I'm not pushing the failure point until I hit that last set of 6. It's not failure at 6, failure at 6, failure at 6. So what we're doing is being able to keep intensity high with a lower volume in a sense. So total reps are 18. Obviously, I'm not doing 18 straight reps, and the load I'd be able to use for that would be ridiculously low percentage-wise. So this enables me to do the 18 total reps with a much higher intensity. So what you would use, say for a 666, is roughly pick a weight that you can do for 8, maybe 9 reps. And then that should push you to hit failure by that last set. Now, honestly, what I'll do with this is I'll be doing like 2 really full working sets here. So on the first one, I will do a 6-6 and then hit failure on the very first set of 6. And then on the last set of clusters that I do, I'll hit failure on the second set of 6 and the last set of 6. Okay, so that's that's only 2 full working sets. Well, yeah, but that's a lot of volume because I've went to failure that many times. And I'm going to failure safely. I'm not pushing forced reps. I'm not pushing past that just concentric failure, okay, because I just can't recover from it. And then I'll do 2 more exercises. This will be like the first thing we're doing here is a reverse band Swiss bar press. I'm doing this more for the sternal portion of the pecs. I'm doing a reverse band, that way it's more of an even resistance profile from bottom to top, because obviously the bands will deload the weight at the bottom where it's heaviest in the movement, and then typically in a regular press, as you come up, it gets easier and lighter just because of the moment arm. But the bands are going to allow that, because the bands will drop off, so the load gets heavier as it comes up, so more even resistance. And then we'll go to a movement for the sternal pecs that's going to load more in range. So now obviously I'll go to a fly to where I'll actually do it banded as well to overload more of the short position. And then I'll do 1 more chest exercise just to hit a completely different division of the pec. I'll also be doing back in there with that, and I'll go over that when we do that. So moderate volume here. I need to be able to recover from this because my calories are low, and I'll talk about my calories and stuff on my food video. But it's recovery, guys. When you're in a deep deficit, when you're prepping, you have to put this in your mind that, and I don't know why people think the opposite. It's like, I'm in prep, I'm gonna get all the body fat off, I'm eating less food, but I'm gonna train more and more and more 6 days per week. I'm like, the equation doesn't work. Eat less, do more, eat less, do more. You're going to drive BMR down. You're gonna drive thyroid output down. You're gonna just tank everything because your recovery is going to shit because you're doing too much, and you have this bash yourself into the ground mentality when you're in the gym. You have to start really thinking about this stuff logically and methodically, so you're able to still train hard, but from something you can recover from with the nutrients coming in. All right, so with all that being said, because I can go off on tangents, again, we're gonna start here. I'm gonna do some warm-up sets, obviously, to kind of acclimate my joints and stuff to the load. Then we'll get into the working sets of the 666, right? Yeah, and I got my old man sleeves because deep in prep too. I usually don't wear sleeves that often, especially in off season, but for prep, joint integrity is important, and I still want to be doing pretty heavy loads relative to where my strength is now, because obviously strength is down at this point. But so it's just kind of precautionary stuff: elbow sleeves, wrist wraps to protect the joints. So we'll get some sets in here, guys, and then we'll go from there. So much for concentric failure. Oh, fuck. This is exactly why you set spotters, guys. So if you're pushing to true failure and stuff, be safe. Don't be fucking stupid and do this shit without spotters because it's dangerous and it's not worth it. And you see that I hit failure, right? But I hit it with good form. Like I pushed, kept my tension, kept my execution, and it wouldn't go up. Set down on spotters. I'm all good, not hurting anything. All right, so press is done, cluster sets. Now we're gonna go to just loading the short position here. And when I say overload the short position, means that's where the greatest amount of tension and load will be within the movement. Now I'm using a cable here. Now, if I had a wide cable station here, then all I would need to do to overload that point is basically stay almost dead center between the two pulleys. That way, when I'm in this top position, this cable's basically pulling almost at a right angle from my hand. Now, because these two pulleys are really close together, obviously when I'm in this top position, that cable is going to be right along my hands, right? So it's going to actually be deloaded most in the short position. So to overcome that, I've banded the, which is nice about the Prodigy rack, it's got band pegs. So I banded the selectorized stack. So obviously as I fully shorten, go to the top position and the contracted position, the band is going to be fully stretched and overload that point. So the bands are allowing me to overload the contracted position, right? So obviously if you didn't have this, you can still do the fly movement, but it's just not going to be overloaded there. But that's my point. I want it to overload there, so I'm attaching the bands to the selectorized, hence more overload. So we're going to do a few sets of 8 here, and then we'll move on to some back stuff. All right, so we're gonna move on to back now, kind of rear delt back, upper back movements. So initially what I'm gonna do, this is gonna be a superset, but a superset with rest. It's not one straight to the other without rest. So I'm gonna start with a little bit more focused on the rear delt, but obviously still gonna hit some of the rhomboids, a little bit teres and stuff. But we're gonna start with a wider grip. This will allow me to really load more of the kind of short position of the rear delt initially. And then the second movement, I'll move the handles inside my shoulder width. So what that'll do is kind of create a pull apart motion, which will actually help load more of a lengthened position. Because like with the rear delts especially, or even the rhomboids, that inward path or the converging path is going to lengthen the tissue more. So I'm going to get that initially in the top position, and then I'll pull apart and back to finish off the movement. So you can kind of look at this as kind of like a short, being able to do the short position and then go into more of a lengthened position movement back to back here. So we'll do a few sets here and then move on.
Every single one's got a story to tell. Everyone knows about it. From the Queen of England to the House of Hell. And if I catch you coming my way, I'm gonna sell it to you.
All right, guys, so to finish up here, last two movements is I'm gonna do a costal fly and a lat focused row. So obviously I just hit the sternal division. Now just doing one movement for obviously the lower pec, costal fibers. The fly is probably the best variation to hit this, just a full range of motion, as opposed to like a low decline press or whatever. Plus I'm gonna have a more even resistance profile. So we'll do sets here. Superset it with the lat row. Now, again, superset with rest. I'm not doing this and going straight to the lat row. I'm doing this, resting about 40-ish, 40, 60 seconds, then doing the row, resting, coming back and forth, back and forth. So understand with supersets, there's different ways to program that in. So it makes it a big difference if you're doing rest or you're not for the stimulus. So these little details and variables in your training program make a big difference. So we'll do this for the pec, and then over here on my, obviously, you know, my absolute favorite rowing machine ever made, the Prime seated row. So we're gonna bias the lats here. Obviously that's gonna be done by my setup and lining up the fibers of the horizontal fibers of the lats, more thoracic. And loading here now, because I'm not going for as much damage, so I'm not loading this top peg, which loads the lengthen position, the stretch position of the movement. Most of my load is going to be more mid-range, which is the middle, and then the short position. But then when I train lats later in the week, I'll put more load in the lengthen position. But I don't want to be like damaging all the time. Again, I can't recover from that shit. So the thought process here is hit the lats, one movement, because the last exercise was for upper back. So hit the lats with one movement, more loaded with a short position, even though mid-range short position. Then later in the week, we'll hit lats and have more of a load in a stretch lengthen position, okay? So we're gonna do a few sets here, back and forth, 3 sets, and then that's gonna be it for that, for the main part of the workout. Oh, fuck. All right. Fuck, that killed me. So, this is this stage in prep. As any of you know who's competed, it's like, it's a mental thing to get through training. When I'm on the set and I'm doing the set, I'm locked in, I do it. And then when the set's done, it's like, that goes away, and then you're like, fuck, I feel like a zombie right now. Then you repeat that process, right? So finishing out a prep, being smart about it obviously, but where people tend to fail and not get to stage conditioning is the mental part. This fucking shit is hard. And anybody tells you otherwise either has not actually been stage ready or truly understands this, because unless you're a genetic outlier, when your body fat gets this low, energy reserves are non-existent. You're just depleted. You know, you don't have fuel going much to the muscle, and especially the brain. So it's like you're in that brain fog state a lot. But it's like, get in, train hard, safely and responsibly. Don't do a ton of freaking volume that you can't recover from. Get in, hit it hard, stimulate the muscle, get the hell out, and recover as best as you can. And you let your nutrition and cardio drive the fat loss in the really deep stages of prep. And that'll save you a world of being highly inflamed and struggling to get that nice polished look on stage. All right, so what I'm gonna do a couple sets of just core abs. I don't do them that often. I just honestly, from the posing and shit, I really don't need to. I have decent, pretty good control over my abdominals. I don't need to build them anymore. You're fine. So what I'm gonna do here, just like a basic, you can kind of look at it as a TVA crunch in a sense, but I'm not just gonna be doing that. I'm going through full range of motion, so you'll see me go through full thoracic extension. So opening the rib cage diaphragm up, just getting the abdominal musculature to open up as much as possible. And then think kind of compression. So start with the ribs, diaphragm, pull them down and in, intercostals, everything, TVA pulling, and just like a cinching movement. But I'm also going to have a slight rotational movement towards the end. Something I learned from Cass and Joey is there's always that slight, rotational component to the core. So instead of just working in one plane, just that it doesn't mean massive either. Obviously, I'm not as well versed as they are in that, but that slight rotational movement obviously helps to shorten basically the fibers even more. So I'm gonna do just a couple sets of that and then call it a day. Ooh, oh, I got my lifting buddy in here. How you doing, buddy? Come here. He likes to lift weights with me. Come here, Luca. Luca, come here, buddy. Hey, come here. Luca. Look at the camera, say hello to everybody. Come here, buddy. Come on. Yeah. So I'm gonna lift. So you can see when I was doing the crunch, I was kind of shaking a little bit as I was coming up because it's just control, and I'm putting my hands on my core musculature to kind of have that kind of proprioception in a sense, but help me hone in on like, okay, I'm bringing the diaphragm down, rib cage is being pulled in, then I'm TVA pulling in, compression, slight tilt, posterior tilt in the pelvis to shorten more, and that slight rotation. So my hands here is just kind of the reminder to make sure I'm activating and shortening all these muscles. Very slow, controlled. You don't have to be doing 20 freaking reps for this shit. 10 good quality reps. You do it controlled, and you're actually going through the full range of motion and tensing everything up. It doesn't take much. All right, guys, so that is it for the training today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave a comment below, shoot me a DM, whatever it may be. And then I'll have some more videos too with the full days of eating for the my base days, and then I'll also do a full day of eating for my refeed days.